guys, welcome back. So happy Mother's Day to the mothers out there of every gender. I hope you're having a good one. Probably not getting a brunch this year, but I hope you're still having a good one. Hopefully someone in your life made something for you. It's a day to celebrate our moms. Mom's been gone for about a decade now, but I still did all the mom stuff. Um, I did stuff she would have done if she were here. All that stuff women get to do 365 days a year. Polishing up the stove, making sure the dishes are put away, doing dishes, cooking breakfast, all this stuff women get to do all the time and never get appreciated for except for once a year, and then they end up still having to do it. So yay! So I did that stuff and it was kind of like this healing ritual because it's all stuff our moms do for us all the time and did for decades, in some cases. And we didn't, appreciate it perhaps. And it's nice to be able to take over your mom's rituals of the kitchen and, to work in the kitchen she used to work in. And I also went into that game that I showed you guys, and I learned how to drive the Jeep, so mission accomplished. And I went and I toured the island, and I actually went to church. As much church as you can go to now. I went to the UU church, and my head didn't spin around and nothing caught on fire. It was actually a really good sermon. And surprisingly, the atheist preacher has found Jesus, which is good. He's a lot calmer. He at least has a direction to go in now. He's no longer out in the parking lot looking for his car keys, as I used to describe him. And I think that's a good thing. It's one of the good things that's come out of this, that we're forced to slow down whether we want to or not and be alone with our thoughts. I think it's partially why, economic reasons aside, so many people want to rush back to the way things were because it's not very comfortable to be alone with your thoughts, especially if it's the first time you've ever done it in your life. Some people are busy from the day they're born practically to the day you put them in the ground. They don't like having a lot of time alone with their thoughts. They don't really want to do that, and it's uncomfortable and it can hurt. And especially if they don't come from a pagan tradition, the concept of shadow work is unknown to them and they don't know why it's happening. And it's really uncomfortable. And so they, you know, as I said, economic reasons aside, they need to go back to work because they need something to do so they don't have to think. And for a lot of us, it's been ups and downs and upheavals and going around in circles and thinking we're losing our minds. And it's all part of the process. It's a lot of feeling like we're going in the right direction and going forward full blast. And then all of a sudden, some little thing tips us over and we're going in circles and everything else. Spirituality is very rarely what it looks like on Pinterest or Instagram. It's very rarely the straight linear line where you're given all the answers and you just keep going in one direction. It's backtracking, getting lost, falling into wells, wondering what you're going to do now is what spirituality looks like. And I had to make peace with some things, and I did that. And, it was good for me because I said, if you keep coming back to something and you keep staring at it, you haven't put that to rest. Legba taught me that. When I worked with Legba, he taught me, he said, well, if you keep coming back to the same crossroads, it's because you're not happy with any of the roads you've taken. And I've noticed, a lot of pagans keep coming back to the crossroads of whatever their childhood faith was. And it was funny as I was thinking about that today, a lot of pins on the divine masculine came back up. And I usually never get pins on the divine masculine in the first place, so this was interesting. And talked about, I don't know what group this is or anything, but they feel that the divine masculine is going through these cycles, which if you were Wiccan, you're aware of these cycles, where he's trying to throw off all the psychic garbage humans have piled on him for thousands of years. And he's trying to be reborn, and he wants to have union with the goddess. This is Wiccans we're talking about, and I'm not trying to be insulting. And he doesn't know why he's called to her. He's freaking out. And he's freaking out because he's had all this garbage piled on him for centuries and thousands of years, and he's such a frightening monster now that even though he's God, the Father God, and he's trying to reach out to his people are terrified out of their minds, and they don't want him in their life in any form. They don't want God in their life. They don't want Father God in their life. They don't want any male divinity in their life. They're terrified of him, and he's freaking out because he doesn't know what to do. And Mother Goddess is over in the corner like, give me strength, give me strength, give me strength. Talking to herself, but give me strength, give me strength. And the crown's just wandered off somewhere, and she don't have time for this. She going for a walk is what she's doing. But it kind of felt timely because we're starting to see a lot of gods from all faith undergo kind of a quarantine of their own, kind of a reevaluation by the more thoughtful, awake people in their respective faiths. Say, is this really how they'd want to be seen? You're seeing a lot of progressive Christians try to rescue Jesus, especially from that last part of Revelations. And you're seeing them realize that they have 2,000-year-old text from a Bronze Age religion that was horribly outdated. And, that's hard when they've been using the same text for 2,000 years, but they're at the stage now where they have to admit it was divinely inspired at best. At best. And maybe it's time to let it go and write something new. And talk about, to be honest with themselves. And that's the scary part of how do they, feel God in their lives, and how do they feel Jesus. Now, how have they been taught to feel? Not how have they been taught is right or wrong by any other faith, but what do they feel? So you're seeing them go through these kind of rebirth stages that's sometimes painful to watch because, there's always that tendency to run back to the old way, even if it's harmful and toxic, but they're trying. And you're seeing, say, Buddhist communities have to admit that it doesn't matter what the religion is. Sometimes very negative, bad people have gotten attracted to it, and they've done terrible things, and they have to make reparations because obviously that wouldn't be something the Buddha would, have supported. So you're seeing this kind of cleansing, however tiny and however incremental, happen on behalf of the divine masculine. Now, why doesn't the Father God, or whatever God it is, just come down and fix everything? I think because they enter a partnership with humans and they say, well, I could have the authority to absolutely force you to do what I want, but what would be the point in that? They want a give and take relationship with all of us. And it's kind of like if, like, say we took Jesus as an example. We don't have to take Loki because Loki can sort things out for himself. He seems just fine. And I go, yeah, Becker. Let's say we took Jesus as an example. And let's say you believed in his divinity, but you're terrified of him because he's been represented as this human-hating monster who's going to throw you in a pit of fire for over 2,000 years. So what's that rebirth going to look like? What's that new design going to look like? How do you get from that fire and brimstone view of Jesus to a gentle God who was a healer and cared about the poor and the disenfranchised and the pagans in the community and everyone else? How do you get there? And there are no easy answers, and there's no one path to get there. For pagans as well, Odin is undergoing major renovations, and I'm not quite sure what Odin is making out of it, but, people are trying to go from seeing this terrible war god, which is not exactly useful in a time like this. Again, it's energy, but you know what I mean. We are living in a time where one major war could wipe out the entire population of the planet. We don't need that, especially right now. And we're trying to recast him. What can we do with Odin when the last thing we need is a war god? You can always use some of the lessons of war aspect can teach, yes, but we need Oski more now than we need anyone else, or we need the scholar now, or the healer now, we need the magician, we do not need the war aspect as much. And for some people, Odin is gentle and cute and sweet. One person called him a hippie, and I just kind of gave him side eye and banned him from the channel. But um, it depends on what experience you're looking for. I think is what you get. Um, and a lot of faiths say that, not just pagans. Christians will say that too. That whatever you are expecting of their god, that is what you get. And unlike what the atheists would like to believe, it's not because they're imaginary and we made them up in our head. It's because they will give us what we expect. So if we expect a wonderful experience in general, that's what we'll get. And I think we're trying to move forward as a species and see spirituality, religion, whatever you're comfortable with, as a good thing. Not a punishment tool, not something used to control people. And it's kind of like the lights turned on as I was sitting there watching the sermon today, and it was like, what, 18 minutes of my life, so it wasn't that long. Um, it was a thing of he's talking about past events in the life of his family, and he's talking towards the pandemic and the UU Church. They're very human centered. It's not that they don't have a faith, but they will be the first church to say this is wrong. And they obviously believe in medicine, you know, in science and facts as well as faith. So they are not thrilled at the idea of just opening everything wide open. We're already seeing in the news, people had birthday parties and their everything else. People were being a little self-centered, and I understand that everybody wants to go back to the way things were. Well, I'm sorry, we can't. And we're seeing, stuff is spiking as people are going back to clubs and other parts of the world. Stuff is spiking. Some people are doing pretty well with facing the truth. There are buffets that have just closed down forever because they said there's no way, not in a COVID-19 world. There's no way they could do that with any good conscience to have something like a buffet. Cellar bars are going to be a thing of the past. Buffets are going to be a thing of the past. It's going to be kind of a thing where people are going to have to learn. We're seeing people start ground wars over whether or not they should wear a mask. I think that's a very easiest way to answer that. Would you want your doctor to not wear a mask? I worked in food service. Would you want a food service person to not be wearing a mask at a time like this? No, you wouldn't. You want them to have that mask on. You want them to have gloves on. You want them to be nice and clean, please, and not be possibly coughing on your food. So it just comes down to a common sense thing of, it's going to be a new world. I don't care if we like it or not. It's going to have to be a new world if we want to have a world. It's going to have to be a world where we're going to have to wear masks and practice social distancing for however long it takes. And even when there's a cure, it's going to be prudent to sit and wait and see what the cure does and see how long it lasts and see if it's a temporary thing. It's going to be, perhaps years before we get this new normal figured out. We're just going to have to be patient. And we're not good at patience, especially now. We live in the era of YouTube and Instagram and all this other stuff. We find it hard to sit still, a lot of us, myself included, for 5 minutes. I can get lost in a VR game for an hour because you're always engaged with it, but with videos, I'm finding myself even a 5-minute video, I can't sit still and concentrate because if you read scientific articles, our brains have actually been rewired to have that short attention span. And now with the ads that they place in some of these videos, it's even worse because you get to see, instead of at least what I grew up with, 15 minutes to a half hour of a show and then a block of ads, it's 5 minutes and then it's an ad. It's 5 minutes and then it's an ad. And sometimes it's even worse than that. And it's destroying our ability to concentrate on anything and grow towards anything. So if you're not making much spiritual progress, do not at this time, don't beat yourself up. Your brain's actually been rewired, and you have to kind of do other things they found help to rewire it back the way it should be. Playing puzzles helps, doing whatever it takes, anything that you have to concentrate on, a VR video game or reading or whatever, something that you're really going to, be able to sit down and do for more than, say, 5 minutes at a time. That should help. Cooking, cleaning, whatever. It helps rewire your brain back to the point where you can concentrate on tasks. So, that wasn't the most excited video. I do miss some of the Mother's Day traditions. I miss, being able to take mom out, but I haven't been able to do that for about a decade. That's not a sad thing, but I used to, when she was first gone, I would go out and I would buy her, flowers still, and I would do all this other stuff, even though she told me not to buy her flowers. I only did that one year. But, I would still try to keep it up as much as possible. And we're in the first year where it's just not possible or advisable to go out for brunch. I'm sure some people will decide social distancing be damned, and I'm sure some people will rebel and do that, but it's a very dangerous thing to do right now. If you're all living together, great, do it, but it's not the time to say we all want to be self-centered, we all want to go back and do our traditions. Sacrificing the traditions we have is a way we're showing everyone on the planet love and affection. It's a very hard thing to do at times, but it's how we show we love and care about other people, giving up that tradition of the taking mom out, giving up the tradition of the brunch, and giving up the tradition of going to a park or flower show or whatever else you took mom to. It's hard, but you're making that sacrifice for other people and for your mom and for, your children if you're a mom. And it's something we have to be mindful of, and that's what the sermon was on today of, it's hard. And it's hard to make sacrifices because we're not used to them. We're used to getting our own way, but we're going to have to learn a new way and learn to make sacrifices and learn that, it's very unrealistic to think we're all going to jump back into the way things were in a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year. We may never go back to the way things were, never completely, but that, that's going to be okay. We'll have a new normal, we'll adjust. I know that's not the most cheerful video, but it would be foolish and irresponsible of me to say, oh yeah, this is totally going to die out and we'll go back to things exactly the way they were. I wouldn't advise it until the day that it's no more troublesome than the common cold, and that may be many a year from now. I would say we have to be realistic and realize that our new normal is not going to be the old one, but we are going to make it through it. So if you guys like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye bye.